Warning, the following audio transmission is based on theory and is intended for entertainment purposes only. It's Doomsday and its affiliates will not be held liable for anything your dumbass does. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome, everybody, to It's Doomsday podcast. Today is June 16th, 2024. Time is 18:47 p.m., and I'm hanging out, actually in the studio today. And there's always a different sense when you're recording in the studio, and I like to try to get down here to do the show. And It's Doomsday podcast has been very sporadic lately. Like some weeks I'm putting out an episode, some weeks I am not. And I'm trying to figure out a way to combat that, and I've always liked to do the show within a day of it coming out. That way, if there's like new current events or new things going on, I could easily just work them right into the show, right? And we've done that throughout the years, and now that I'm doing the new show, the Doom Daily show, I can kind of tackle all the latest and greatest things that are happening in the news over there on that show. So, if you are so inclined, go give me a follow on Spotify. The Doom Daily Show on Spotify. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review over there. And over there, we put out 5 episodes a week as long as things are not too crazy. All right? It's not prepper related. This is just a day in the life of Dooms and basically what's going on in the world and my thoughts and prerogative on things. If you want to come check it out, come check it out. We'd appreciate it. For those of you that are coming to Prep Stock, all the campsites in the immediate area have been sold out. We have sold out campsites, so that's really freaking cool. There are still tickets available, and tickets are still selling. Also, don't get discouraged by camping not being available in the area because there is another campground right down the road that still has availability. So if you want to reach out, you can email me. It's doomsdaypodcast@gmail.com or go to the PrepStock website, prepstock.net, and shoot an email over there for the updated campsite information. So what's going to end up happening with the show in order for me to combat this and bring you guys continuous episodes every week? I'm going to start recording the show on Friday evenings. I think that's the only way I'm going to be able to keep doing this. Sundays get way too crazy with work and everything else that's going on. It's just too difficult. So It's Doomsday Podcast will start be recording on Fridays and coming out the following Monday. That's just how this cookie is going to crumble. Okay, so let's get into the show. Ladies and gentlemen, the topic of tonight's show is, are you more than just a prepper? Okay? I personally think that being a prepper comes with a certain mentality. You look at things through a different lens. You have a contingency plan for things that may never take place. You look at the world very differently than other people do. Okay? And this can create some mental isolation. All right? And then what it also does is, for me personally, it makes me kind of disgusted when I look at certain people. I get kind of disgusted because, like, say if I'm going through Walmart and I see a person that weighs 350 pounds, 400 pounds, and I think to myself, if any shit hits the fan, situation happens to you, you are fucked. Okay, if your house catches on fire, how quickly will you be able to get out of there? All right? If someone breaks in and tries to hurt you, can you defend yourself being that big and heavy? And the answer is simply no. Right? And then I look at other people who, specifically rely on eating fast food, and it's like, that's not good. I know people that can't cook. I know people that don't save money. I know people that spend money very frivolously and don't put anything back or don't put anything away. So take just Doomsday take Doomsday off the table. Take anything apocalyptic off the table and just think daily life, daily survival. I know people that let their tank get to flat out empty before they put gas in their car. I know people who don't charge their phone until it's beeping at them, telling them that it needs charged. Okay, I know a lot of people who do not prepare just for daily life, let alone the prepper mentality aspect of this.
Are you looking for something kick-ass to add to your closet? Reaper has the hookup for t-shirts, hoodies, button-ups, hats, beanies, and plenty of other badass products. You can check out Reaper Apparel Company at www.reaperapparelco.com and use code DOOM10 for 10% off. Jester only stands behind brands he believes in, and Dan at Reaper Apparel has a mission, and Jester is on board. Go check out www.reaperapparelco.com today and use code DOOM10 for 10% off your entire order. Why be a sheep when you can reap? Use code DOOM10 for 10% off at www.reaperapparelco.com today.
And a question I get asked all the time from listeners and different people is, how do you get your spouse on board with prepping? And I've talked about this before on the show. There's no real easy answer for this. Either they do or they don't. And I've always tried to tell people over the years, get them to read some news articles about some things that have transpired. Maybe that'll open their eyes. How many people got lost in this one scenario and how easily these people could have been prepared for it. And that might help. But the thing about it is, to break that question down, how do you get your spouse to prepare? It's very, very simple. You have that prepper mentality. You want everybody around you to have that mentality, so therefore you want to get your spouse on board. I've come to find over the years with my spouse, the pandemic definitely helped with getting her in the mentality and getting her on board with things. It definitely did. But I think what really did it was, I'm just going to do it regardless with or without you. You're either on board to prep with me or you're not. And I'll still have preps for you if shit absolutely hits the fan. We will have what you need. Okay? And now, looking at things from the law enforcement perspective, now the emergency medical perspective, it's, anything can go wrong at any moment, any day of the week. Everything is randomized. There is not a circumstance out there that is 100% predictable. So with that being said, you kind of got to think to yourself, as you're preparing for the EMP, are you getting prepared for the house fire? As you're preparing for the house fire, are you getting prepared for the hurricane? As you're preparing for the hurricane, are you preparing for food shortages? As you're preparing for the food shortages, are you also preparing for contaminated water? So on and so forth. The list is endless, right? And that's why we always talk about, the main places to start, food, water, shelter, security. Because that kind of is a blanket to cover all bases if something were to go wrong, right? But it's funny, the more I get deeper into the prepper world and the more I meet like the big famous preppers, oh my God, this guy's wrote books and this guy's a doctor and this guy has been on TV numerous times and he's been on all these different shows, and I meet all these people and I talk to all these people, or, talking to people that actually make survival products and talking to the higher ups there, things like that. I come to find myself being way less prepared than what I need to be. Okay, in this industry, you're always learning from people that have been doing this longer. Okay, and man, I'll tell you what, I fucking love the Snapchat guys. Add me on Snapchat at Jester Dooms. Man, I'll tell you what, the stuff that I see my listeners posting on Snapchat is like, holy shit. Like, I've got gun gurus that listen to the show. I've got farmers that have like cattle and all this shit that listen to the show. I've got like hardcore preppers that are working on like fixing up their basement and the bunkers and shit. Like, it's crazy the amount of stuff that's going on. I have listeners that literally have planned out for an entire cul-de-sac, and they have like order and rule and strategy planned out. Like, it is crazy. And these are those preppers. It's like, man, you look at these guys and it's like, holy shit, I thought I had my shit together. Man, no, I don't. I'm looking at what everybody else has going on and I'm like, I'm a little bit jelly, I'm over here like, man, this guy's got all this going on and I'm a little bit envious and I'm like, damn, I wish I had that going on, And what I've come to find is certain industries that people work in will really push you into prepping more, right? Okay, so check this out. When I got in and started working in the law enforcement world, okay, one of the first things I learned was, holy shit, not everything is in the news, not everything is in the papers, not everything is put out there on blast, okay? There's a lot that goes on within my town that I have no idea about. Now I do, because I'm working on the inside. So I'm seeing this shit now. I'm seeing everything that's taking place. I'm seeing how bad this is. And that automatically made me want to strategize different things within my home, like cameras and more, I guess you would say, home defense type firearms and better locks on the doors and a better security system for the house. Like, now that I'm seeing what goes on, trying to get the wife to get to the range more for more range time so she could develop more firearms proficiency, okay? Things like that. I'm like, seeing that now. And then you start realizing, as you get deeper into this, okay, I'm in this realm, there's natural disasters coming. I now know that we shut down emergency services during bad storms and when bad things are happening. And then I'm also learning that, like, it's, oh man, there's only so many first responders out there. So if enough bad shit happen at one time, you're going to be on your own. Right. And then, okay, so I look at that aspect of this. All right. And that has molded me into doing certain things that I do, from doing what I've done for work. Okay. Then I get into the emergency medical services side of this. And I come to find out, like, every single person is a prepper in this industry. It's like everybody is. They all have their little go bags, their survival bags, their shit hits the fan supplies. Like, everybody's kind of got this, right? Now, I'm out the other day. I'm doing, I had to go for range qualifying. You have to go once a year, right, and requalify with firearms. And I'm sitting there and I'm talking to the guy. We are at our firearms instructor's farm, and he's got like this nice little range set up behind his barn. And I asked the instructor, I said, hey man, if a turkey comes running out or a deer comes running out and I take it out, do I get extra points? It's kind of joking around with the guy. And he was like, we don't shoot the wildlife, Dooms. And I'm like, okay, fine. He's like, I don't even hunt them. I'm leaving them there for when I need them.
Fire is one of the most basic essentials for survival. Whether you're camping, hiking, or preparing for disaster, Blackbeard has your six. Go to www.blackbeardfire.com and utilize code DoomsDay for 10% off your entire purchase. Blackbeard offers stormproof matches, plasma arc lighters, fire starters, and ferro rods, all of which are great for your bug out bag. Once again, go to www.blackbeardfire.com and utilize code DOOMSDAY for 10% off your entire purchase.
And in that moment, I'm like, oh, this dude's a prepper too. Okay, I'm picking up what you're putting down over here, man. I get it. I see what you're saying. And what I come to find is, a lot of people still in the industries that I'm in, a lot of people are on board with this, okay? And then what's even funny is a very easy, translation to this is a lot of the guys that were in the military, not all of them, but a majority of the ones that I've seen, they love the military aspect games. Like, they love the Call of Duty. They love all these different military-oriented games. Not necessarily because of the realism of the game, but because kind of the storylines that they follow, right? So it's like you might learn about something in history. It might be in this game, et cetera, et cetera. I was really big in Call of Duty's Nazi zombies. Like, you couldn't pull me away from Kino der Toten. Okay, and this follows like this whole Nazi Germany era. And it's really, really interesting when you're looking at like the, the different weapons in the game, like the Wunderwaffe and stuff like that. And it's like, wow, it's crazy how this pulls back into real life. Like the era, and you come to the conclusion it's a game, whatever. It's fun. It's passing the time, and, it can be highly addicting. But, some of these guys that come out of the military, like they love these games. They love, because they love the competition. They love the aspect. They're familiar with the firearms. They're familiar with listening to these radios and everything that's going on. So it's like, yeah, this is great. Okay. And I say that to say this. People in emergency services, whether it's law enforcement or medical, see shit hitting the fan all the time, right? So they themselves know that these are real world situations that they need to prepare for. Okay. So they look at the world through a different lens than how your average everyday person does. Okay. Now, I said in the very beginning of this, I kind of get disgusted when I look at certain people because I'm like, there's no way you're going to survive when shit hits the fan. And I look at these people and I'm like, man, part of me is mad at you and then the other part of me feels bad for you. And then, I watch people just, and it's everybody's God-given right. You want to neglect your body. You want to be sloppy. You don't want to take care of yourself. That's your God-given right to do that. You can do that. That's fine. That's on you. All right. But whenever I see somebody on the motorized cart at Walmart that's not much older than I am, toting around an oxygen tank and bringing out 2 cases of Mountain Dew and honey buns and absolute trash, that's how they eat. It's like, I have no sympathy for that situation. You get one body. You should take care of it. Okay? Getting old sucks. Getting old and being overweight sucks more. Getting old and coming down with COPD or any of these other, make it hard to breathe problems where you require oxygen is bad. Dying from cancer is bad. And there are steps and things you can do to prevent your body from falling apart in a very, very bad manner. But here's the thing. When shit does hit the fan, and these particular people that didn't prepare their bodies or their minds for what's coming are going to be the ones that suffer the most. Okay? I can go 24 hours without eating if I have to. I've done it before. I can do it again. Okay? There's people out there that can't go 3 hours without eating, and they have mental breakdowns, and they can't handle it. And their bodies are so used to having that sugar all the time that they start to crash really, really, really bad. Okay? There's people out there who have a big problem with eating certain foods. All right? And when shit hits the fan and all you have available is what's in front of you, you cannot be picky or choosy. So the mental anguish that these people are going to suffer is going to be horrible. Anyway, I'm off my soapbox with that. But you as a prepper, okay, are looking through the world with a different lens. So the way you look at a situation and the way another person looks at a situation are different. Okay? Prime example, when I was going for qualifying the other day, I told my wife, I said, I probably have to run out and go get ammo. I'm required to bring over 100 rounds for qualifying. And I said, I might need to go get ammo. And she said, okay. I said, but I'll have to look at home first because I'd like to cycle some ammo. I probably have exactly what I need in there. Well, of course I had what I needed. So I go through and I just wanted to make sure I had enough to take and still have plenty of reserve, right, until I make it to the store to buy more again. And I did. That was no problem. Okay, now in my head, being the prepper, like anybody who's going for that qualifying who's not a prepper probably does not have that ammunition at home, okay? Probably is not cycling their ammunition, all right, as they should be. But I have that mentality. I cycle, okay? Most people don't. And that right there is applicable to so many situations. Like how many of you out there cycle food in your pantry, every so often? You take stuff from the back, you move it to the front, you go through your pantry and you're like, this is going bad next week, so we're going to use this before it goes bad. This is coming up on its expiration date. We're going to eat this before it goes bad. There's been many times that I have actually taken and donated to the little food pantries in my area because I have stuff that's expiring in such an abundance and it's coming up on its date. It's within like a month. And I'm like, there's no way I'm going to eat all this stuff in the month. Let me go take this down to the local pantry because someone will eat it today and it's still good for another month. Let me take it now. Right. And I go and I donate the stuff. And then I cycle out with something that has a longer shelf life or something that's maybe a little bit better. And I've gotten in the habit now of, if I get rid of, say, $20 worth of canned goods, I'll buy $20 worth of freeze-dried stuff because I know the freeze-dried stuff has 5 times the shelf life. Okay? If not more, depending on what that canned item is. All right, I also know, like, when I'm getting low, it's time to make a trip maybe to, say, like Aldi's or somewhere, and it's like, okay, I need a couple cases of canned fruit to throw on the shelf because I'm noticing that they're looking like they're getting depleted. So let's throw that on the shelf, okay? And, like, that's that mentality that I carry around every day, all right? Like, everybody, I guess, has a little bit different of a mentality when it comes to how to prep it and what you should have and what books to read and all of these things, okay? Now, me personally, I feel that you shouldn't prep for one scenario in particular. You should be prepping for them all.
Want to be a guest on the show? Email it's doomsdaypodcast@gmail.com. That's it's doomsdaypodcast@gmail.com.
Because if you prep for them all, you'll be fine whenever shit hits the fan. Okay, number one. And then also one situation blankets over the other. So as I'm sitting here prepping for a nuclear blast, I'm also prepping for a tornado. And you might say to yourself, well, Jester, how are those two things related? Number one, if I'm going to survive either one, I need to be in a hardened facility. A tornado is going to rip shit apart just like a nuke's going to rip shit apart, right? Water can become contaminated, so I need a way to filter that. I need a way to make clean water, okay? Grid is probably going to be down with each scenario, so I need a backup source of power and a way to cook, okay? You're not going to go to the grocery store if it's been destroyed by a tornado. You're not going to go to the grocery store if it's been destroyed by a nuke. Okay? You see where I'm going with this? So as I'm prepping for one, it's covering the bases on the other. And I can look at that and I can see that. And that's why you never hear me say, and you haven't heard me say this, I've been doing the show for years, you've never heard me say, oh yeah, for when the tornadoes hit, I have this. I use one blanketed term. When shit hits the fan or when the apocalypse happens. That's it. You never hear me say, oh, I've got this one thing just for this one circumstance because this is what I'm prepping for. If you guys have listened to me since the very beginning, you know damn well that I'm not prepping for one little instance. Now, I do have things that I think will happen before other things happen. And I do think it's going to be civil unrest, and I do think it's going to be a breakdown in our society. And I think that, after George Floyd's death and all the peaceful protesting, I think that it's safe to say that civil unrest is a very easy thing to happen. That doesn't take much. If you look at the chop zone, if you look at what happened out there, you had people take over an entire city area. Okay? So don't tell me for a second that this is an unrealistic thought. So, with this, I've also found out that there's things that are absolutely useless to purchase, okay? I've gone back and forth in my head numerous times about things that are a beneficial purchase and things that are a non-beneficial purchase. I was having a conversation today with Rusty Shackelford over the phone, and we were talking about central heating and air for our homes. And I'm like, I could absolutely 100% survive without AC. If it got hot, we'll figure it out. But there is no surviving without heat. You will freeze. So we're getting ready to do this big project at the house, and we're trying to figure out a new heating and AC option. And I've been telling my wife, like, look, I'm good with just throwing some window shakers, and I don't care about having central air in the house. It's not something I care about. I grew up in a house where we had a wood-fired furnace, we had window shakers in the summer, and then we also had a backup oil furnace that my dad would never run because heating oil was so damn expensive. So basically, the oil furnace was set very low all the time, basically right around like 45 degrees, to where if it got that cold in the house, if the fire was out, if no one stoked the fire, that thing would kick on, and just enough to keep the pipes from freezing in the winter. Okay? So we're going back and forth and we're talking about this stuff, and like that's what I'm saying. Central air for me is a useless purchase in a shit hits the fan scenario. Because guess what? If the summer's abundantly hot and it's crazy, 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 I could kick windows open and I could run fans off the solar generator. I'm not going to run the central air off the solar generator. Okay? I cannot run central heat off a solar generator, but you know what I can do? I could have a fire going with wood in the basement, and I can use fans to divert heat around the house utilizing solar generators. You know what else I could do with those? I could also recharge my chainsaw batteries to keep firewood in stock. You feel me? So this is what I'm saying from the very beginning of this episode. What I was trying to communicate is you as a prepper look through things in a different lens. And there is nothing wrong with this. This is okay. And I know a lot of us find ourselves doing one common thing when we're having these conversations with people. And we find ourselves having to give people explanations. Like, well, why don't you want central air? And you go through this whole spiel. And I'm going to give you guys the easiest cop-out ever. Blame it on money. Just blame it on money. I could easily go back if people are like, why don't you want central air? And I'm like, because I don't want to spend all the money on that. That's useless. Why do that when I could put in a freaking fireplace for under $2,000? To me, that sounds better. And wood's free. I can go cut it around the property and bring it back to the house. Wood's free. You get what I'm saying? So it's very easy to combat this in the cop-out of just saying, hey, it's a money thing. You know, it's the money thing for me. That's what it is. And just go that route. But you are always going to look at things in a different light opposed to how other people do. And I don't want anybody to think that there's anything wrong with that. Okay? You're fine. There's nothing wrong with you. People aren't going to understand why you think the way that you do because they're over here thinking about, you know, how they're going to get the new iPhone. And you're over here thinking about how am I going to survive when that iPhone doesn't work anymore because there's no more network. You know, how am I going to communicate? Like, that's your mentality. As their mentality is like, shit, how the hell am I going to update my Facebook status if there's no phones? You know. So, I mean, at the end of the day here, guys, it's fine. Don't worry about what other people think, what other people say, what other people do. You do you. Keep going, because with what I'm seeing right now in the world, this whole shit hit the fan situation looks like it's on our way. This whole World War III thing, I feel like, is about to pop off. Things are getting crazy with the election. I look for shit to go south very freaking soon here. And I don't know in what capacity that is. Nobody has a crystal ball to predict the future. But things are looking pretty freaking grim. Okay? And whatever you're doing, just stay on top of it. You know, keep doing what you're doing. Shit'll pan out. Shit'll work. You'll get it figured out. Okay? There are still time to do things. No one's dropping nukes in the morning. Okay? You're going to be okay. And just, you know, keep your eyes peeled for what's going on and start watching the way things are trending in the news and stuff like that. I mean, if you think that there's going to be an election this year, I honestly, I'm skeptical. I think we're going to have a major conflict that's going to affect the election. And we're going to talk about that on the next show. Okay? So make sure you come back next week for the episode of It's Doomsday Podcast, because we're going to get into something that really scares the shit out of me, and we haven't seen it before, and I think it's good. It's a possibility. We'll say that. It's a possibility. Also, for those of you out there that have been listening to the show for the longest time, Big Al, Big Daddy Prep, is back on social media. He's back on TikTok. He's back making TikToks again. He did a nice video explaining his exit from social media and what he's been having go on, things like that. So definitely know that he is out there. He's kicking. He's alive and well. Because I know I'll periodically get messages like, hey, where's Al been? And I really didn't know what to tell anybody. I mean, he's just taking a break from social media, I guess, and that's what it was. He's back now, guys. So go check out his new content. He's been putting out videos. Go check him out. Like his content. Give him a follow, etc. Whatever. And, guys, that's it. We're out of here. We'll see you on the next episode. Everybody else, the email, it's doomsdaypodcast@gmail.com. Drop us a line, and everybody have a safe week. I'm out of here.
This is an emergency action message. At approximately 1 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, NORAD is tracking 15 ICBM nuclear missiles inbound to the following cities: Orlando, Miami, Pittsburgh, Dover, Newark, Richland, Philadelphia, New York City, Baltimore, Los Angeles, Las Vegas, Boston, Seattle, Detroit. This is an extremely deadly situation. Stay tuned. The next emergency message will be a presidential address.